Ron.
Hello everyone, welcome to our presentation at the 2018 Buffalo Home Show. I'm Chuck and this is Leanne, and we own Blue Rooster in the village of Hamburg. Our store is known for farmhouse decor, custom wedding decor, rentals, Buffalo items. Our most popular item is painted and upcycled furniture. And we're here to demonstrate one of the more popular ways to use furniture paint. It's on redoing kitchen cabinets. Hold on, I have a script here because I couldn't remember everything I had to say. We use Dixie Belle paint products for all our projects, and we also carry their products at our store. We're here to show you everything you need to know to complete your project: cleaning, painting, sealing, adding decorative touches to your cabinets. And after the demonstration, we'll answer any questions that you may have. After the presentation's over, also you'll be able to enter a drawing to win free gift bags and a furniture paint and clear coat that will be given away at our store. And now I'm handing the stage over to Leanne to show you the presentation.
Hi everybody, thank you for coming today. We are going to demonstrate how to paint kitchen cabinets, but not only cabinets, it also goes for furniture. So the process is the same, but kitchen cabinets are a little bit easier. Today I brought just your regular old golden 80s cabinet that we're going to work on today. As you can see, I brought a couple different finishes that we'll go over. The first thing you want to do, especially for cabinets, is to take them apart. The first thing I recommend you do is start in one side of your kitchen and go to the other and number all of your cabinets. Quite often over time they start to mold to each other, hinges start to bend, and everything kind of molds together. You don't put it back where it came from. Sometimes it doesn't close properly. I've had that with furniture. Actually, I did a cabinet recently, we didn't do that, and the doors didn't line back up again. If you're lucky enough and you have a cabinet like this, you'll have the newer hinges and you can number inside your hinge so you can't see it. If you don't, I recommend, as you're taking them down, just put a little piece of tape, number them. Also with your knobs and your hinges, number them as well. So this would be cabinet 1. Your hinges would be cabinet 1A, 1B, 1C. So everything goes back on where it came from. If you're going to do this in your garage, lay it out on tables on your garage. If you're going to paint the backs, take your tape off, put it on the table right in front of that cabinet. That way everything goes right back where it came from. Taking off your knobs and your hinges. If your cabinets are older, or if your furniture is older, the whole spaces are different than they are now. Today they're pretty much standard. Back in the day they pretty much did whatever they wanted. So it's an old piece of furniture. I most times keep the knobs and I spray them. If it's a newer cabinet like these, they have standard holes. You can get new hardware for them, but it's expensive, I will tell you that. This is an example of some older hardware. Down here is the old hardware, and I'll put it up front so everyone can see it. Up at the top, we've painted them. Rust-Oleum has great hammered spray paint. It comes in all sorts of metallic colors, and this copper. This is a gray-black color, and this is a brown color that they have. This one's dark bronze. I take a scrap piece of wood like this, I do some holes in it, put the screws right on through it, and spray it right on here. If you can keep your numbers on them, keep the number on the back. If not, if you have a thicker piece of wood, number on the wood. If not, number it in the back. That way everything goes back where it came from. These are some old cabinet hardware, or I think this came off of drawers, that we did with just blue or white flat spray paint, and then we did a clear coat over the top. So it's very easy. This is actually just one coat of spray paint. So you can get it done very, very quickly. I'll put this down here if you want to take a look at it. Once you have all your hardware and everything off, you need to clean everything very well. For kitchen cabinets, they've been hanging in your kitchen. They're all full of grease. Fingerprints are oily, so you want to clean them really well. They sell a product called Crud Cutter. That's at Home Depot, Lowe's. You can use that. Dixie Belle Paint, which we use in our store, has a product called White Lightning. Clean your cabinets really well. If you're doing furniture, most of the time it's just basement grunge, or it's been sitting in your house, it's just got some oils from your finger on that. You'd only need to use vinegar and water. Once you've used Crud Cutter, or if you use kitchen soap, whatever you use you need to then rinse it. Soaps leave a residue that the paint will not adhere to. So once you've cleaned it all with Quad Cutter or White Lightning, you want to take vinegar and water, just regular white distilled vinegar, 2 parts water, 1 part vinegar. It's not exact, just generally. Put it in, if you have an old mason jar or something like that, put it in there if you'd like, save it for another time. And you just want to wipe all your cabinets down and get them nice and clean. So just take an old rag, I actually have this one wet already, and just clean all the parts of it really, really well. Do your backs as well. Some people don't paint the backs of their cabinets, which is weird, because then when you open up the cabinets, you have old cabinet. And at some point, you have to have a stopping point, which is hard. So paint the backs. So just clean your cabinet really, really well. Let it dry. 15, 20 minutes, let it dry really, really well so that the paint can adhere. Once you've done that, I'm going to paint this one. This one has 2 coats, to give you an idea. It covers really, really well. This is Dixie Belle's Manatee Gray. They're from Florida, so they have lots of Florida kind of names. So this is 2 coats. That should be sufficient. Some paints out there say you only need 1 coat, which is a lie. You need 2 coats, but you don't always get everything the first time. So what you want to do, and I put some paint in a container. When you buy your chalk paint, you don't want to use it out of this container because you can contaminate it. As you're using paint, it'll start to get thick. You can add a little water to it. You don't want to add water to your main container. Water has bacteria, so bacteria or mold can then grow in your paint, and this paint's expensive. So you want to put it in another container. I always put something with a lid, that way if I need to walk away or come back later, I can just put the lid on. I don't have to worry about it. 4 brushes, and I know there's probably someone's going to show up here and complain about the brushes that I use, but it is what it is. Everybody has their own way of doing things. They sell very expensive chalk painting brushes. This one's $45. This one is for waxing. The one that you use for paint has a tip on the end. I get interrupted a lot. I would walk away from this $45 brush, and 3 hours later I'd come back to a hard brush, which is why I don't use them. And if you're not going to use this as a career, you're not going to do multiple pieces, don't spend $45. What I like to use are these. Someone's going to scream at me, I know it, but this is what it is. These are from Walmart. They come in a 3-pack. They're back in the craft section, and I like them because they're nylon. If you walk away from this for an hour and you come back, you can rinse all the paint out. If you've ever done, painted your room and you've left one of those expensive brushes sitting there, it's dead after an hour. So I like these. I also like them because they're thin. So if you need to get into a small area, if you're doing a piece of furniture and only want to do 1 part of color, you can get really close with it. If you don't want to spend the money, there's also chip brushes. These are 50 cents to $1. They're okay, but these are much better. You don't want to use a brush that you use to paint your walls. They hold way too much paint. They're too thick. You'll just end up getting more paint on your cabinet than you need. Okay? Chalk paint. Chalk paint is a chalk-based paint. It has calcium carbonate in it, which is a binder. That is why you don't need to strip or sand your cabinets. If you do have a more Formica cabinet, you can still paint them. Dixie Belle sells a product called Slick Stick. It's almost like a primer or a clear coat. You can put on your cabinets first, then you can paint over it, okay? If you have really, really, really old cabinets from 20s and 30s and they've been stained, sometimes that stain will bleed through. It's an oil-based stain most likely, and it will bleed. If it's a really dark walnut, something like that, and you're painting your cabinets white, you're going to want to put some kind of coating over it first, whether it's just a clear coat from Home Depot, a satin or a flat, or the Slick Stick. You want to put that in there and seal it so it doesn't come through. I've had that happen on furniture. You have a dark piece of furniture from the 20s, you paint it white, and you can see all the wood coming through. Sometimes you want that, it makes it look old. Lots of times you don't, especially on your kitchen cabinets. So what you're going to do is you're going to start on your back first. Lay all your cabinets out on tables. I recommend getting some pieces of wood, whatever you got laying around the house, soup cans, plastic bowls, whatever you have. Lay it down and then lay your cabinet on it. That way when you do one side, if it's sitting down flat, you'll get that cake from all the paint. You don't want that. You want just a nice clean coat. So you want to put this on a piece of wood. I've done soup cans. I end up with a whole cabinet full of painted cans. That's fine. and you want to do one quick light coat. This is not painting your walls. We want to cover everything. You just want to get a little bit on your brush. I'll bring it up for you to see. And just a nice quick coat. Don't get fussy with it. You really can do all of your kitchen cabinets in an afternoon. It dries very, very quickly. Although I do not recommend putting a fan on chalk paint. Chalk paint will crackle, just like a crackle finish. I've done that by mistake lots of times. If that happens, you're going to have to take a sander and strip your paint off.
Does humidity make a difference?
I would not do this on a 90-degree day.
Okay.
Humidity will take longer for it to dry. If you're in your basement where it's cooler, it's going to take longer to dry, but that's okay. Just an average day, 60, 70 degrees, this will dry probably half an hour, 45 minutes. You want it to be nice and dry, and just a nice light coat, not too thick. Just like that. That's how long it took me to paint one side of a cabinet. If you've got 20 cabinets, in under an hour, you'll have them all done. Let it sit. Come back and do a second coat. You want to let it dry, otherwise you'll keep pulling the paint. Also, as chalk paint sits, it gets thicker. So, 20 minutes, half an hour from now, you're going to notice that it's thicker, and that when you put it on, it's pulling. You want to add just a touch of water, and that's fine. You can keep adding water to it. Chalk paint goes a long, long way. This container, I probably can do a whole buffet and maybe an end table. Yeah, it covers a lot. And like I said, you can add water to it. So that's easy. So I'm going to put this down here. This one has your 2 coats. This one is ready to go. So the next step would be lots of different finishes. Not so much cabinets, but with furniture, if you want that chippy, shabby chic farmhouse look, you want to distress. I do not recommend taking sandpaper to your cabinets because you're just taking the wood away. This is very resilient. It's very easy to work with. All you need to do is take either a baby wipe or a wet, warm washcloth. And all you want to do is take it and go all around your edges, wherever it would be worn. So around your corners, if you're doing a piece of furniture, an old dresser, an old end table, you have to think about, you want to make it look like it's been there for years. So where would it get roughed up? On the legs of your tables, people have been kicking them for generations. So you want to do all around your edges, take it all off, and that's what I've done on this one. Mine's a little more shabby chic than you probably want in your kitchen cabinets, but I just took it off, and what will happen is your old color will show through. If for some reason, your cabinets are white, the old ones, but you want a darker color show through, go ahead and take, say, a dark gray, paint it on there first, and then go over it with a light gray, so that when you distress, you'll have that dark gray coming through. People do that with black, so black and then red over it, so you get the black coming through. Lots of different things that you can do like that. You also can finish your cabinets either just leaving it be. This is just plain. If you just want it more modern, you can go ahead and wax it, be done with it, and walk away. If you want a little more distressed look, a little more antique-y look, there's some different things you can do. This one has a glaze on it, and all I've done is watered down paint. This one has a darker glaze and then a little bit of white glaze. This has just clear, and I've antiqued in the ridges. This one has an antique wax over the whole thing, depending on what you're looking for. I do have some samples of some different glazes over there. You can either make glaze with paint, watered down 50-50, or you can buy a glaze. It's just a little bit thicker. They have all different colors. There's silver, there's golds, there's browns, there's blacks, whichever you prefer. With this one, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do a little bit of clear. So this is their wax. It's a white or a clear wax. It's very creamy. It's actually good on your hands when your hands are chapped. And I use my big fat brush for that. You don't have to do that. Get one of these really cheap chip brushes, and you're going to cut the bristles off. So cut it halfway down. That way you get a firmer bristle out of it. And what you want to do when you're waxing is you're pushing the wax into the paint. Okay, so you're just going to take a little bit of wax, just a little bit like that. This also takes no time at all. So what you want to do is, in a circular motion, kind of pushing into the paint. You just want to push it in there. You want to do sections, okay? You want to do one section at a time. You do not want it to dry. So just like that. And then you want to take a cloth or a t-shirt. T-shirt's fine. Usually a t-shirt, there's no lint to t-shirts, not a black one. Black one will leave black fuzzies. If you use towels, they will leave a lint. Some people use those blue shop towels, paper towels, but they're very expensive. Old t-shirts are cheaper. And then you want to take your old cloth in another circular motion the best you can, and you're basically buffing it. Just like that. And that spot's done. So if you feel that if you want to come up later, I'm going to leave the back alone. You'll feel that this is almost a flat finish.
How long does that take?
Once you've waxed it, it's got a nice smooth finish.
How many coats for the wax?
One. I do one. If you want to do a clear coat, you can do it with a brush. Me and clear coats don't get along. They're hard. It can go on, you can see the brush strokes. Sometimes in the corners it'll leave a yellowish color. And sometimes it pulls the color through the paint as well. If you have a big kitchen, got 30 cabinet doors to do, or you're doing a big piece of furniture, I recommend getting a sprayer. They're super easy to use, and it comes with its own little compressor. This one came from Lowe's, I believe, or Home Depot. From Home Depot, it was $79, and it's worth it. You put up a piece of plastic, and you can spray them all. With a clear coat, it leaves a nice, light finish on there. You don't get all the little brush marks. So very, very easy to use. So you're going to continue and do your wax. You're using a very little bit. If you put it on too thick, you just have to work that hard to get it off. Just a nice light coat over the whole thing.
How do you wash this after it's all done?
I'll tell you. What happens when you have regular customers here? They ask lots of questions.
We're going to do it.
So you just want to buff it off just like that. And that's all there is to it. Now if you run your hand over it and it's still sticky, you still have too much wax on there and you need to buff it some more. But you can tell your hands are going to start to get sticky, so kind of keep them white with you. That way you can keep feeling it. It's kind of like cooking, you have to keep tasting it, because you have to keep feeling it. If you would like to do, say, just an antique around your edges like this, there's two ways of doing that. While your wax is still a little tacky, Dixie Belle has something they call dirt. And it's a powder. And you can put it on with a brush. You just basically dip it in there and put it all in your edges. You just have it put all in your edges, let it sit there for a little bit while it dries, and then you can blow off all the excess. I prefer to use dark wax. I actually have an Annie Sloan product. She is the person that originated chalk paint. This can has lasted me about 5 years, so it goes a long way. They also sell a lot smaller cans, so you don't have to buy this big of a can. If you just want to be in the edges, you can take a small little paintbrush. And you want to do this right after you've cleared, that way it's still soft, and then you can mix it better. And you just want to go where you want the darkness to be. Go right along your corners. You want to be all in the little nooks and crannies where technically dirt would have settled over the years to make it look old. And then you want to use a different cloth. So you can have a one for clear, and you can have one for dark. And then you're basically going to just take off what you don't want, and you're going to let it settle into the crevices. If for some reason you put it on, you're like, oh my God, that's so much darkness. The easiest way to take this off is to use mineral spirits. Comes in a can like this. Just put some on a rag or on a brush, and it will take that dark off. Some people put it on and they're like, oh my God, I hate that. Just take a cloth, wipe all the darkness off. You're going to put a clear coat back on again. Okay? So you just want to do that. You want to wipe what you don't want off. And that's it. This is ready to go. Wax takes 21 days to cure, so if you're doing a dresser or end table, you want to put a lamp back on, I recommend putting a towel down. That way you don't leave the lamp marks in the wax. If you want this look, where you have more of an antique look over the whole thing, you want to take a bigger brush, and that's where one of these comes in. You want to use one for clear and one for your dark. Again, you can use as little or as much as you want. You may get this on and say, oh, I don't like it that dark. You can come back with a little mineral wax and lighten it up. So basically, you're just going to put it on. I know it looks scary. You don't need to put it everywhere because you're going to wipe it around. You just want to wipe it through, and it'll leave almost an antique on there. And again, say if it's, or if it's not moving well, if you're doing it on a hot day, you can add a little clear back onto it to help you move it around better. You just want to kind of buff it in, just like you did with the clear, and then it will give it an antique look. Okay, some people like that. There's also lots of different colors of waxes. There's browns, there's white. If you're doing something that's black and it's got lots of detail on a dresser, you want to do a white wax on it. It'll sit in all the little kind of crevices. If you look at some of our samples of the glazes, you'll see how it can settle in all the grooves. Old china cabinets that have beautiful fronts on them, it'll all sit in there really nicely. There's golds, there's silvers, coppers, there's a dark gray that you can use. Another way you might want to do it, if you want to do more of a glaze, and a lot of the newer cabinets do have glazes on them, and you basically do a wash. Like I said, they do sell them, or you can do a wash. So I just took a canning jar and I mixed paint 50-50. And you just want to take a brush, so I can get the lid off. This is 50-50, and you basically just want to wipe it on, and do the other side. And then with a paper towel or a rag, you wipe off your excess. If you want a lighter wash, you basically will add more water to it, but you don't want it too watery. Water will pull the paint off your cabinets. If you're going to do a wash, I recommend letting your cabinet sit for a couple of days. I just did these yesterday, and if you look at this cabinet, I am pulling the paint off. So you want to let it sit for a little bit. You can also then, this is kind of hodgepodge, but this is what it would look like. If you wanted to add another little bit of a color to it, I recommend adding a little bit of white. It'll brighten up what you've done. And again, you just want to put it on. With the white, you can just do a little bit of highlights inside the corners here, over the top a little bit. When you look at this one, you can see the white as you look at it. And then you just take off your excess. So you can do that, you can get lots of different colors. If you go into Lowe's, if you look at the cabinets, you'll start to notice that they do have washes on them. There'll be like a cream color, will have a brownish wash on them, with maybe a little bit of white, things like that. And then when this is all dry, you would go back and wax it, or you can clear coat it. And that's about it. You want it to sit for 21 days. You can put your cabinets back up. What I would recommend, no greasy fingers, get your knobs on there so that you can use them. And then if you want to, if you've done wax, you may need to come back, especially on your furniture, if you have something that's used a lot, a coffee table, maybe every year or so. And this is how they did things back in the olden days. They didn't have clear coat, they had wax. Just take a little bit of wax, rub it on there, and it'll bring back the shine. Your kitchen cabinets, you may want to do maybe once a year, maybe every 2 years, depending, maybe that one cabinet that gets used all the time. Just go over with a quick coat of wax, it'll rejuvenate it, it'll make it nice and clean and shiny and look brand new again. That's about it. Now, anything ready for questions, if anyone has any questions?
How do you wash? Just soap and water after a while? Oh, soap and water?
No soap, just water. If you've waxed them,
After a couple.
yeah, if you've waxed them, do not use any products, no pledge, no cleaners, just a white, nice rag, a warm rag, no soaps.
Okay.
If you've clear coated them, you can go ahead and wash them however you would. I wouldn't use anything too harsh.
Okay.
They're not manufacturally sprayed. They use 3 or 4 coats of polyurethane. You're not going to do that. You only need a coat or 2. So you don't want to get on there with like cleanser or anything and scrub it off. Any other questions? No questions? We also have some paint for sale, and we have some paint you can take a look at if you'd like. We have some brochures over there you're welcome to take. We have some color samples. Dixie Belle has 60 colors to choose from. So it's limitless. They also do a metallic finish. So if you want to do a piece, they have a silver, gold, and a copper. And they also have stains. So if you wanted to do a piece and restain it, they're gel stains, so they go on nice and thick. Depending on your product, I have used gel stain right over the top of a product, right over, not even stripping it or anything like that, so it's nice and thick. But I do recommend if you're going to stain that you strip your product. And then the metallic ones you can use as an accent. If you're doing, say, a big cabinet, you want to do the doors, a little shimmer to it, you can use the paint that's got the metallic in it. Sometimes there's drawer fronts, or you can use it, say, in crevices if you want a little bit of shimmer. So they have 60 to choose from. We also have some cards you can fill out if you would like to win one of the Dixie Belle gift bags. In there is a small container of paint. It's probably big enough to do a table, a coffee table, end table, and there's also clear coat, and they've given you a paintbrush for you to use. So if you'd like to enter for that, we'll be giving those away after the show. That's it. Does anybody have any questions? No questions, huh? You're welcome to come up and take a look at the different color samples or take a look at the cabinets. Help yourself.
If you do have any questions, we're also going to be here for a while. We're going to be
We'll be right
able
over
to paint.
there.
You can talk to us personally if you want.
Good job.